Welcome everyone to the all-important clash in the ninth round of the FIDE World Rapid Championships 2025. On your screen is the Uzbek number one player Nodirbek Abdusattorov, and he is in hot form coming from the London Rapid tournament where he played incredibly well to beat everyone and win the event. And here now he is on 6 points out of 8, facing the world champion Domaraju Gukesh, who comes in. And Nodirbek and Gukesh have this amazing rivalry between them since 2022, with fantastic games having been played. Gukesh is half a point ahead of Nodirbek. He's doing really well. He's on 6.5 out of 8 points, and this is something that he would be looking. He's just half a point behind the leader. Nodirbek, on the other hand, did have couple of wins before this against Andrew Hong and Maxim Chigaev, while Gukesh has managed to beat Anton Guyaro. How will this game pan out? Will be very, very exciting and interesting to see. As you can see, both the players being very calm and cool before the game. Gukesh trying to meditate. Nodirbek just being in his zone. It's 15 minutes plus 10-second increment. Nodirbek Abdusattorov already has won this tournament back in 2021. A handshake and off we go. Gukesh brings his knight out to f3. We have pawn to d5, g3 played, the reti. And pawn to c5, grabbing more space. Bishop comes out to g2, knight to f6, castles here for white. We have pawn to g6. The bishop would like to come to g7, short castles. Pawn pushes forward to c4. The bishop comes out. And now pawn to d4. You have all the 4 pawns together here in the center. And Nodirbek takes on d4, knight takes d4 and castles. And we are going to get 100% symmetry here. Now in such positions, always remember that white is the one who's slightly pressing because he has the extra move. But Nodirbek now breaks the symmetry. He comes here. His threat is queen takes queen, rook takes and knight c2, winning the rook. So Gukesh brings his knight out to c3. And you can see the time on the clock. Nodirbek is still in his preparation. He has 15 minutes on the clock. He goes knight to c6. The bishop comes out to f4, eyeing an important diagonal here. And you can imagine that both sides are pretty happy if e4 or e5 is played, because that would limit their bishops on g2 and g7. So a3 played here by Gukesh, kicking the knight away, and knight goes back to a6. He plays his rook to c1, and now white is slightly better developed because of the pieces that he has. Rook c8, and now maybe one of the plans in such positions is to take on c6 and go knight a5 after the queen trade. Gukesh goes knight a4. I love this move by Nodirbek. He goes queen to e8, and with this he's setting up ideas here. e4, and Gukesh going a little bit in the wrong direction now, attacking this knight. But you have knight a c5. He plays it. He plays knight to b to c5. And now the best move is rook to b8. Rook to d8 found here by Nodirbek, attacking the queen. The queen, if it goes to e2, there is knight d4. So queen e1 had to be played. A slightly uncomfortable move because you don't want to be hit by the knight. Now the knight jumps in. If you take on e6, I take back. And this knight on a4 is a little bit loose. King h1 played by Gukesh. And now b6. You will see that Nodirbek is very, very Sure, here queen takes a4. He's understanding that his pieces are just better positioned. Knight b4. Already Gukesh down to 1 minute on the clock. And bishop to g4. Just keeping an eye on this square. And knight to d5. Gukesh trying to use the activity of his pieces. Here knight on d5 attacking the e7 pawn. Bishop e2 attacks the rook. You take the pawn. King h8. And the rook is almost trapped. Rook g1. You can't play knight f3 because e2 is hanging. So plays queen b5, another amazing move, defending the bishop, now threatening knight f3. And Gukesh, with just 1 minute on the clock, is pushed down to his last few seconds. Oof. Queen b4 takes, pawn takes knight f3, quickly getting in the exchange because the rook can't go any of these squares. He comes back, knight to c6, attacking the knight and the pawn. Rook to c8, and now you can chop off the pawn on a7. Takes rook a8, and now just enter in with the rook to c7. Knight to g1, king g1. Already Gukesh has made a comeback in this game. He's doing well. g5, what a move. But can we take here? He wants to attack the rook, but we could come back and re-attack the bishop. But he blunders here. Bishop d6, and a very important move now. You play rook d8 here, it's completely fine. e5 and white wins. But there is a crazy move, rook a d8. And the point is, if you take bishop takes, I have a check. Bishop f1 takes, and then I take here. And he finds it. e5, bishop e5. What a move by Nodirbek. Takes, check, f6. Blocks it. Insane. Giving up the bishop with a check and then blocking it. And now threatening a mate here. This is incredible play by Nodirbek Abdusattorov. Maybe one of the finest shot calculations I've seen. King g2. Now very important to first pick up the bishop on e5 to take away the f3 square. Takes it. Takes on e5. And now pawn to f3 played. And at this point, Nodirbek Abdusattorov finds another impressive move. g4, if you take bishop f1 is checkmate because you take control of the f file. Gukesh goes f4. But Nodirbek now plays bishop f3 check. Take on f3, another check. So tactically sharp, doesn't miss even a single opportunity here. King f1 takes on f3. He takes the pawn. Now everything's hanging here. b2, h2. He plays rook takes h2. The threat is push f2 and queen e6. The e pawn is coming. But I guess f2 would be just bone crushing here. Maybe he wants to play rook f7. Takes, king g7, stopping the pawn. And Gukesh goes knight c8, attacking the pawn on b6. But you can defend it with rook to h6. I think you may want to keep that pawn alive, because once you have that pawn, yes, he plays it. King takes f2, king f7. The rook is clearly superior to the knight, and it's going to be all over. Like rook c6, rook c4, just pick this up, king f3. And you bring the rook in, knight a7. Rook to c4. Pushes forward. And king comes up. The king is coming to c5 to pick up this pawn. Goes knight to c6. h5. And Gukesh tries to kick the rook away. Maybe rook c5 is a fine move. Goes rook g4. He pushes his pawn. There's no hope here for Gukesh as Nodirbek comes in with his king to d6. And hardly any moves left. He plays his king back to f2 and king d5. Threatening to come to c4. First, rook g7, very important move. You never see these top players blundering into such forks. Rook g7, king f4, and now it's time to enter in. King to c4, and now b5 is hanging. The knight moves, b4 is hanging, and it's all falling apart. This is cut off. So Nodirbek Abdusattorov wins. What an insane and incredible game played by the Uzbek #1 player. The tactics in between with rook d8 and bishop e5. Absolutely stunning chess. Let's have a look at that moment once again to understand the beauty of it. Let's try to understand the behind the scenes or behind the main lines what happened. g5 was played and Nodirbek wanted control of this diagonal. So if I take here, he wants to play bishop e5. And now after rook b7, you are able to somehow, play bishop b8 and try to get the rook in here. So Gukesh would have been worried to give up this diagonal, although even here there are possibilities to somehow defend with the move like bishop f1, as after bishop takes f1 I have a check, king here, and knight c6 threatening a checkmate. So somehow the mate is avoided. So it's a beautiful line, but the thing is, Gukesh said, why don't I play my bishop here? Because I don't need this pawn. Next move I'll go e5. I'll attack the rook. The rook has to move. I'll have complete control over the position. But this is where Nodirbek showed that he is impeccable when it comes to calculation. Rook a d8 came out of the blue because bishop f8 there is check and you win the bishop, and then on f8. So that's the reason why e5 was seen, and if you have to play rook f e8, white is completely fine after f4. These are the kinds of positions Gukesh loves to play. But how many people would actually calculate bishop e5 with a check? You give up a piece with a check, blocks it, and now the bishop can no way stop this check winning of the piece. So this entire sequence may be just 2-3 moves long, but is so powerful and so strong. I think Nodirbek Abdusattorov deserves all the praise that one can give for his brilliant play in this game. All these years, ChessBase was a software that needed to be installed on your computer. But now, ChessBase has come up with a mobile app. It's called the ChessBase mobile app, and it is available both on Android and iPhone. With the app, you can now prepare against an opponent. You can get access to more than 11 million games in your database. You can create a new game, analyze it. The premium users get access to the fastest cloud engines, and then you can save your analysis. What's more is that the app is completely free. If you want to stay connected to serious chess preparation on the go, then the ChessBase mobile app is for you.